wrestling fans are all like seals. They just channel on. They have their wrestling fans cosplay other wrestling fans now. That's what they do. They see the way the fans react to the show, and they go and they react like those fans with the chants and stuff and everything. And it's
You know what
that's to me. And I look at the AEW crowd, and that's your audience. That's your crowd. That's your fan base now. It's like, how do we get? Because there's not a lot. You're not going to attract more people into that audience. This is an audience that's not going to grow. How do you grow wrestling's audience and getting more cooler people? Getting more people to come watch it.
But the problem I have with these AEW fans is I'll do a thing on the Keep No 100 YouTube where I'll say, "How is everyone today? Good." On a poll option, I'll say, "Good, bad, AEW sucks," and I do that just to get a reaction. And these fucking fans are like, "Oh, what do you mean? You're just jealous that you don't work there." And it's like, shut the fuck up. It's rubbish. And the problem I have as well is that AEW was praised, the Double or Nothing event was praised for exactly the thing that WWE gets criticized for.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think, no, you're not critics. You're just a bunch of fucking nerds, and I hope you don't own guns or vote.
Well, I mean, what you say is not far from the truth. I mean, like the wrestling fans, the wrestling media, they're kind of one and the same, and they're all in this together. They're desperately trying to keep wrestling alive and keep it relevant, keep it because let's just be honest, I mean, outside this bubble, wrestling is fading. AEW is coming, but I mean, wrestling was fading into obscurity. The WWE's ratings on a weekly basis were plummeting. Nearly bottoming out. And that's your audience. That's people that watch wrestling. The majority of wrestling fans watch WWE. That's your main wrestling audience. So the amount of fans that watch Impact, Ring of Honor, the numbers are minuscule compared to the WWE audience, right? Now you have this AEW audience. It's like, okay, how many of these AEW fans also watch WWE? How many of them hate WWE? About how many of them hate WWE but still watch WWE? You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people that criticize WWE on a weekly basis, which means a lot of people are watching a product that they don't like, which is bizarre to me. Usually most people just stop watching. But the AEW, I mean, these like you said, they're a weird group of people. They've only had one show, and they're talking like this, there's just a big giant false narrative going on right now. That this thing is bigger than it is. And to me, AEW can just as soon be as irrelevant as Ring of Honor is, as it could be bigger than WWE. Which is why I've said all along that group, if they've got balls, they will go head to head with Raw on Monday night, because that's where your wrestling audience lives. They live on Monday night from that time slot, and just a Monday night wrestling audience. There's a lot of people that aren't watching the show right now that would probably watch if there was a better product on. And I think AEW can easily be a better product than WWE, because WWE just does not know what they're doing.
To me, the one thing WWE needs to really do is cut back the show length, because I love the Lord of the Rings.
It's not going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen. They get paid too much for that third hour.
And
it's not, and that's the biggest. I mean, bro, we wrote 4 or 5 hours of TV. We wrote 2 shows with 5 people each week. Me, Vince, Ed, Borash, and Terry Taylor, and Bill Banks is in there. And we came up with enough ideas for 5 hours of TV. They go home running, and we met for 7, 8 hours. Now, supposedly they have 30, 20-something writers. We had 5. And we did the TV. We wrote the TV every week, and it wasn't that difficult to do. It was difficult sometimes, but you could easily get, we could write stories and stuff and everything for people. There's no excuse for you losing 500, 500,000 viewers from the time the show starts to the time it ends every single week. Because wrestling, the formula used to be the show, when the show was good, the ratings would increase as the show went on. And WWE's got this formula now where the numbers decrease as the show goes on. And that's all strictly writing. Period. That's the way they're writing the show and the way they're keeping the fans interested. And it's just like you know the 3-hour argument to me doesn't make a lot of sense because you can write 3 hours of good TV. The fact that they could do it so infrequently is fascinating.
But it's the fact that the guy who's making the final decisions, he is too old now. Like Vince McMahon probably wakes up in a bad mood because at his age his balls hang so low, and then he's to sit there in the studio like, for God's sakes, my goddamn balls are under my ass, and I'm gonna deal with Dean Ambrose trying to leave the company. Pay him $500, pal. That's what I see. What's wrong with WWE?
Yeah, it is, but I see also that like he probably doesn't have enough people around him coming up with good ideas to have him run with them. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
speaking of other people who don't have good ideas, do you listen to other wrestling podcasts?
Not during maybe during the summertime I do, but when there's other sports on and stuff, everything, I usually listen to sports podcasts.
Because the thing that gets to me about other podcasts, like Edge and Christian, I met Edge and he was cool as fuck, but like their podcast stinks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just him and Christian agreeing and agreeing. And then, but the thing I like about K100 is it's actually you and fucking Conan actually having genuine conversations and not trying to kiss anyone's arse or get put over or any of this stuff. I just think that the wrestling podcasts, and not only that, the fact that there's fans who don't work in wrestling but have these wrestling podcasts, it doesn't make sense to me. It'd be like you doing a cookery podcast.
Yeah, it dilutes the product. I mean, it's just, like there's no reason. I mean, there's no reason for people that are in wrestling to not listen to our podcast. Okay, Conan is the booker at AAA. He works at Impact. He's got influence here. He's got influence at MLW. It's like, if you're an aspiring wrestler looking to get work, there's no reason why you shouldn't listen to this and see what Conan likes. Because maybe you have something that he likes and then maybe you can get work there at AAA or whatever. So it's like, and I'm obviously, we're not in a big giant echo chamber. We have our own personal opinions, and we worked during a period of time when wrestling was great. Because we have a reference point of what people do to get over, and we were over. Like there's not there's some guys that do this that they were over, but they're too worried about what people think about them on the podcast. I don't care what people think about me. I'm just going to give you my opinion and stuff and everything like that. And Conan's the same way.
But that's what's good about it. I think, especially the Disco Inferno song pick of the week. But just as we get into these last batch of questions here, can you confirm that you almost went to WWE in '97?
No, I did not.
Was that not? Oh, well, fuck.
No, it wasn't. Here was the thing. I had a conversation with Bruce Pritchard. It went south. I don't even know what I said that went wrong, but I was possibly going there. But then I did. I don't know what happened. But then Sting got me back at WCW, so I didn't pursue that anymore.
Yeah. Well, now we've come to the part where these are the last few questions, and two of them I want to ask you are about your career, because I've watched a lot of your shoots, listened to a lot of your shoots, and there's some topics that you haven't really been asked about. So I'm going to ask you about, in late '98, early '99, they did My Gang, the NWO Wolfpac angle, and you were added to them. So what were you told when they said, we're going to put you in this NWO? Because that fucking gimmick could have been enormous, but it seemed to stop that.
They didn't tell me anything. Scott Hall, they would give him stuff to do, and he would say, hey, I'm going to use Disco in this. Like, they weren't even really writing me in any of the segments. Scott Hall would get his stuff for the show and say, hey, I'm going to use Disco in this, and he's going to do all this. That's how that came to fruition.
What was can you remember what the feeling was like backstage when you're in this new NWO, the reunion storyline, and then Hogan turns around and decides, I want to turn babyface?
Well, we just knew that there was a couple things, a couple big angles got kiboshed because Hogan.